Good morning. This is Dr. Clay Owens, your CSU CITC professor for the Business Ethics MBA course, MBA V 6301, sessions 1 and 2, Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. I'm trying a new system of recording these from my home, and I believe it is going to be okay. My picture will be here in the corner part of the time, if not all the time. We'll see how it works out and how it relates to the size of the files. In business ethics, globalization has a lot to do with how organizations have become interdependent and then are also being held accountable for the different social, environmental, and political challenges that are threatened to affect the future that we all share in this world. The Nike case is a good example that what happens in a factory in Indonesia has a big influence on what happens to the Nike company in the United States and how the public perceives that. At this point, there are about 80,000 multinational companies and about 10 times that many that have subsidiaries in the world now. There are unnumbered, countless small and medium-sized businesses, and then there are small businesses that we're all very familiar with. This makes the businesses have more responsibility for regulating themselves as they go through the process of globalization. An organization or a regulating authority cannot keep up with everything in every detail. Organizations face many challenges too. The ethical challenges for business organizations include these 4 items. As you know, I like to number items. I like to have 4 steps and talk about the 4 items. So, number 1, labor standards. The ethical challenges for business organizations include labor standards. If you see in this picture, there's 1 adult and 3 young boys working in a textile factory in the United States. This was very normal for a long, long time. The United States, just in the 19-teens and 20s, was able to pass laws and regulations stopping people from using child labor. Textiles was particularly bad about it because the small kids could climb up inside the machines and help work on them. The ethical challenges also include human rights. Again, you see people in the old textile plants, a small girl with waste and dust everywhere, and a young kid around these big machines where you can get hurt. I worked in a textile factory in the United States for several years, and I can tell you that it's very unsafe and very unhealthy work, even at the best. Climate change. Ethical challenges include climate change. I believe that the current trend toward warmer weather and weather change, while being blamed on gases and emissions and pollution, would still be happening anyway. I believe that there are natural cycles that the earth goes through and that history proves that. We may be speeding it up by being pollutants, but we are not the total cause of it. It would be happening anyway. Many organizations face many challenges. The ethical challenges for business organizations also include marketplace integrity, how people view your company, the honesty and the levels that they find or feel that they can have for you. In the digital world, the internet is a hugely influential and effective media to publicize the negative impacts of a business. If a rumor gets out on Facebook or Twitter or anything else about how a company did something bad, everybody will hear about it very, very quickly. The consumers, employees, and grassroots activists can now utilize digital means if they find that business ethical standards are unacceptable. Though the problem is, though, it doesn't have to be true. Someone could make up something that was not true. They could tell lies. So Oxfam is a big political pressure group, and we will have to watch and see what they do. Responding to the new global challenges requires more than just a short-term arrangement. Leaders of large organizations need to respond to different priorities that are competing for their time. This includes return to shareholders versus responsibilities to the environment or to the community stakeholders, people that need a job. You see here like a man, a woman, a child, and then an old man that they're looking after. Remember the Nike case. Nike once had become famous for its sweatshop labor in developing countries, especially Indonesia, and it initially refused to accept responsibility for that. But over time, they have started becoming a real champion for pushing and making things be better. They've raised the labor standards in the countries where they work, and they have allowed their competitors to understand how it works so that they can help. They have become a real advocate for improvement. And again, this was all because of a third-party problem. The global financial crisis in 2008-2009 was largely initiated by poor business decisions made by boards of directors of reputed to be very good companies and the executives of financial and industrial sectors. You see here a picture of Bill Clinton. You'll see why in a minute. U.S. President Bill Clinton caused the 2008-2009 financial crisis. Policies that he put into place during his term as president caused this later downturn in the economy. Bill Clinton was not an honorable person. He did a lot of bad things. Clinton's tenure was characterized by economic prosperity and financial deregulation, and this in many ways set the stage for the problems later on. Among his biggest strokes of capitalism was the Gramm-Leach Act, which had dated back to the Depression era. Excuse me. He also signed the Commodity Futures Act, loosened housing rules, and put pressure on banks to lend money to people who were not qualified to borrow money. It's a subject of many debates, but I clearly believe that his policies that he put into place caused the 2008-2009 economic downturn worldwide. Now, he is only 50% responsible. The actual companies that responded to his actions are 50% responsible also. Institutional compensation practices gave way to a new type of practice that did not undermine the negative impacts of business. It was also seen as a crisis in institutional integrity, where both business and its regulators failed to protect society. This is the United States Congress, the House of Representatives, 464 people elected from their areas, and the Senate, 2 representatives elected from each state. As a result, businesses are now being more severely scrutinized by global monitoring organizations. Organizational cultural risk. The occurrence and effects of this has led many boards to think more on compliance than performance. The management of an organization is focusing towards reducing unethical practices, not just maintaining profits. Economic success is no longer the only measurement of an organization's efficiency or success. Moreover, defaulting to just what is legal is not cut it anymore. It has to be better than just legal. As a result, companies like Google, Apple, Amazon, and Starbucks, for example, are finding backlashes in the United Kingdom where they have been held accountable for their adherence, sticking to tax minimizing actions which offshore their profits. So countries like the United Kingdom, which have very, very high taxes because they are a very socialist country, are looking to get more taxes off these successful companies. And of course, these successful companies are doing their best not to have to pay as much in taxes. Their top ethical issues confronting business institutions today revolve around 11 items. Again, my numbers, 11 items. Number 1, insider trading. Insider trading is a big issue. If you remember several years ago in America, a famous person was locked up in prison for insider trading. Martha Stewart, a very famous artsy, craftsy, household decorating, cooking kind of celebrity who had a lot of integrity as a very honest person, was locked in prison for a while because someone called her and told her about a special deal that was coming up in the company, inside information. She was able to buy some stock in that company, then later sell it for a very high profit and make a lot of money. Being able to do that is what makes the world go around, but having special inside information, insider trading, is illegal in the United States, and it is considered to be unethical. Another big issue is illegal political contributions. In order to try and keep people with a lot of money from just totally running the United States, there are a lot of laws and rules in place to try and limit how much money a company or a wealthy person can give to any one political candidate. As it is, it's a good bit of money that they can give, and it does hold some influence. Environmental violations. You see here a very polluted river and some little children playing by it. But environmental violations and pollution. I worked for a company at one point that had a pollution problem, and they were fined for it every month that they operated, continuing to dump out this pollution. Instead of correcting the pollution, they just referred to it as their bill that they paid each month. Like they paid the water bill or the power bill. Very unethical. Health and safety violations where employees get hurt or get poisoned in the workplace. It's a very serious thing. The United States has laws. OSHA, the Organization for Safety and Health Administration, tries to keep employees safe. Improper contracts where people get hooked into long-term agreements that they really don't understand. The big thing in the United States with contracts is everyone says, read the fine print. There are always little areas of small print that are hard to read and hard to understand, but they'll mess you up when you sign a contract. Contract violations where people just knowingly say, I'm not going to do this anymore. Improper use of a competitor's information. Corporate spying is a lot of things in the United States. The old Mad comic books had the spy versus spy. See, this one has a round bomb, this one has a dynamite bomb, and then this is someone spying and seeing what someone else is doing on the computer. Also refer to things like going through people's trash, trying to find out what they're working on, called dumpster diving. Very big business in the United States trying to find out what your competitors are doing. Anti-competitive practices. That's where you try to stop someone else from doing business that might be a competitor to you. You might do something crooked to them, you might do something illegal to them, but you try to stop them. Sexual harassment. That's where people put their hands where they shouldn't be, where they try to trade favors, including sex, for promotions or for better jobs at work. Besides being immoral, besides being unethical, besides being considered wrong by most major religions, this also continues to happen, and the laws in the United States try to respond to it. It's very hard to make laws to respond to these issues. Substance abuse. Drug use is a big thing. Methamphetamines are a big problem in the United States. Alcohol abuse is a big problem. Even tobacco is an abused substance. Marijuana, which is illegal in most of the United States, is very much legal and okay, just like alcohol in several states of the United States. Stealing from other companies, and then people stealing from their own company. You see the guy running off with someone's television, or someone breaking into someone's computer system, hacking. All these things are considered stealing. Stealing information is the same as stealing money. New York Times published an article in 2012 by this guy Smith, talking about things being a bottleneck. That's when you start to pour something out, it comes out slower at the end. The bottle slows it down. Goldman Sachs culture is being toxic and destructive. He said that he resigned because the firm had become a place where profit trumps all other considerations. Don't read that word wrong. Trump means wins. It doesn't mean the president. What was good for the firm and making money was the most important thing. That was at Goldman Sachs, a company that had a lot of scandals later on. There are limitations for compliance. Business ethics challenge the cultural legitimacy of ideas such as the agency theory, which says that managers need to be incentivized for them to deliver maximum shareholder benefits. That's where your performance is tied to bonuses that you receive later. People respond to money. They don't always respond to, oh, you did a good job, or thank you for doing a good job. Money seems to go a long ways because they can buy things they want, they can provide more for their family. It's called incentive pay. Amoral management can be both intentional and unintentional. Intentional amoral management practices occur when business and ethics are considered two different things. Unintentional amoral management emerges when managers fail to predict the ethical impacts of their decisions and actions. In management, there's a thing where we talk about people being unconsciously incompetent, consciously incompetent, unconsciously competent, and consciously competent. It's a very similar type thing. Research suggests that employee ethics are dynamic, they change, and that the behavior cues of employees are taken from the social messages that their organization sends out. If you want to be successful in your workplace, you need to kind of follow what people are doing in your workplace. You need to kind of follow what the boss is doing. You need to follow what other people are doing. You don't need to be the one that's totally different and not doing as much. Social psychology highlights that many people are likely to commit serious unethical acts in situations embedded in workplace hierarchies. That's where it's real difficult, real stifled, lots of supervisors, lots of bosses. This is due to the depersonalization in large workplaces that allow individuals to disavow personal accountability. It goes back to crowd theory and mob theory from sociology, where in large groups people act out and do all kinds of things that when they're individual and normal they wouldn't do. Same way like with a pack of dogs. Your one dog might never attack a rabbit, but if you got 15 dogs together, they would attack and kill a cat or a rabbit. The managers and employees can behave inconsistently across different situations. This agentic shift, first identified by this guy, Stanley Milgram, and his obedience to authority in Yale research and then at a Stanford prison experiment, suggests that there can be an erosion of agency in an organization to the point when individuals simply just do what they're told, follow directives. They don't ask questions, they don't listen. It's like being in the military. You just do what you're told, no matter what you think of it. Here are some examples of unethical practices. UBS Bank was fined because its systems that it had in place did not stop someone from defrauding their bank. They should have had policies in place, like 2 people have to sign for money or something like that, that would help keep things from happening. They agreed to pay a record $1.92, almost $2 million to settle the charges of transferring billions of dollars to prohibited nations. What this did was allowed Mexican drug cartels to launder dirty drug money through the American financial system And it also worked closely with Saudi Arabian banks that had been linked to terrorist organizations. This is a big deal in the United States. We don't want any more terrorism. We don't want any more drugs coming in from Central and South America. These are all real serious problems. Being able to launder their money, make it look like honest money, is a big, big problem in the United States. That's the way most money for bad things gets traced out. That's why do you have all this money? Where did you get it from? And then we find out they were involved in illegal activities. You can see how this huge amount of money is just bundled up in plastic wraps like copy paper or something. In 2012, Barclays Bank was fined $300 million for manipulating interest rates. That's where they would talk to another bank and both of them would agree to raise the interest rates that they were charging for loans and lower the interest rates they were paying on deposits and savings. Banks sort of get into these kind of price fixing things. Sometimes they just respond from publicity and hear what's going on, but sometimes they have insider information about it. They talk together and make a plan. That's when it becomes illegal. Business ethics is the basis of strength in a business. Business leaders now believe that there are many preventive measures which should be leveraged to diminish market failure. The boards and business leaders now accept their role in building institutional integrity capital. That is where the company has a good reputation, the people see it as being a very good place. People think that their company pays out and gives money to charity. They think that the business takes good care of its employees. They feel that everything is just positive and good about the company. This is very important and it builds their integrity capital, that is the goodwill of the organization. There are many places in the United States that do this. McDonald's has McDonald's Charities. One of the things they do is they have collection boxes in their stores and people give money and then the company also gives money. This money is then used to provide housing near major hospitals where children are treated. What it allows is it allows the family of a sick child to stay at the Ronald McDonald House for free and still be able to be close to their child who is sick and in the hospital. This is a very famous, very worthwhile charity. Lots of good things have been done through it. It's very important. Chick-fil-A has a number of charities that they promote. Most major corporations have some sort of charity they provide for. This helps their public image. This helps give them a lot of integrity. This helps their public perception of them. This makes sure that the managers are capable of managing the ethical perspectives in business decisions. There is a critical role of middle managers in believing the need for change and to be champions of that change. One fish leads and the rest follow. If the boss leads in the right way, often the employees will follow. And I'm back. Organizations with integrity capital have low levels of misconduct and more reporting when employees do witness wrongdoing. If a company has a big, good reputation, when a little something happens, people call attention to it, try to stop it, and try to take care of it. It makes the company work better all the way around as things go. Integrity capital is embedded in the culture. It can shape employee behavior, including not defrauding the company and not offering bribes to get business. Sometimes offering bribes is a very common thing in a country, but is often against the company policies. There is some research that indicates 5 factors in building this kind of organizational integrity. Their research identifies these 5 key factors in building organizational integrity. Number one, management takes action in case of misconduct. If people see, hear, or know about something wrong, it's not just ignored. The company leaders address it. The company leaders try to correct it. The company leaders try to make it right. They work on it diligently. Employees can speak up about misconduct and don't fear retaliation. Retaliation is a big issue. That's where sometimes you say something or do something that calls attention to something bad, then it's sort of like a kill the messenger type thing. They don't go after the bad person. Sometimes they just go after who said something about it. It's been a very big issue for me personally in places I've worked. So I've often seen something wrong and had to be very, very cautious about how I would point it out, because sometimes you get associated with the problem even if you are not the problem. This has been a very serious thing, and I've seen it a lot of times. It's very, very dangerous path to go down when you start pointing out something wrong. You have to be very careful what you say, how you say it, and who you say it to. Research identifies these factors in building organizational integrity. Factor number 3. Senior leaders and managers must respect their employees. They need to see their employees as strong, vital parts of the company who are very necessary to getting the job done. They need to get credit for what they do correctly. They need to be dealt with in a fair and even manner. In many companies, the supervisors do not think much of the employees. They treat the employees poorly. They don't know them. They don't work with them. But in order to get the best from your people, you need to treat them with the kind of respect as a supervisor that you expect back from them. These issues are very important. I learned this very much firsthand as a supervisor in a textile plant. People that worked in textile plants in the United States were very, what I call, touchy. They always felt like someone was treating them badly. They always felt like something wasn't going their way. And so I had to work very hard to help them understand that I was doing all I could do to be fair and straight with them. And for the most part, I was able to do this. Research identifies 5 factors in building organizational integrity. Number 4, managers hold their employees accountable. If an employee messes up, you call them out on it, you talk to them, you deal with them. It doesn't always mean you're real hard on them. It doesn't always mean that you fire them. But it does mean that if you see a supervisor doing something wrong and you're over them, then you correct them. You make sure that they do things more in keeping with your policies. You try to be very careful. You try to be very fair. You try to do everything correctly. Every employee is very important to the company. Every employee's success is part of the company's success. Every student's success is part of my success. That's the way I try to deal with my students. Remember that. My number one goal is for you to do a very good job and make a good grade in this class. Research identifies 5 factors in building organizational integrity. High levels of trust among colleagues. That means people who work together trust each other. They're not trying to make the other one look bad or trying to steal someone's ideas so that they can get promoted. It's a very big thing. I've worked in places where lie, cheat, and steal with the other supervisors to try and make yourself look better was a big part of what we did. It's just not a good way to spend your life, trying to do things, trying to work on things that are competitive like that. People need to trust each other. They can have friendly competitions about their success, but truly they need to be honest with each other and not be trying to steal things. The full adoption and integration of an integrity system at all levels of a company takes time and requires commitment. It takes a long time to build a good company and good people. The culture of integrity is better than a regime of compliance. That means people that understand culture and are honest and have integrity are better than in a kingdom, a regime where people just do what they have to do. They comply with the rules. They don't think about the rules. This is the end of the lecture. I am very happy to be doing this for you. There will be 2 more lectures in this manner. I hope that you enjoy them. I hope that you are able to understand them. I looked at the YouTube transcripts that are available. They're a little rough. Some of the words don't come through correctly, like my name, but I'm not going to go through and type and correct all of that at this point. I am going to leave them as they are. I thank you. If you have any questions about the first video, this video, or any of your coursework, please email me. I am available. I try to read email and answer it every day. Any items that are turned into Blackboard, I try to grade them every day. So I hope that this works out for us. Thank you very much, and I will see you in Vietnam in a few weeks.